For thousands of years, the maps of the known galaxy bore one forbidden mark, an enormous void labeled simply as human territory. No ship entered it. No transmission came from within. The borders shimmered faintly with remnants of ancient technology, barriers that no power in the galaxy could breach. It was as if the humans had drawn the curtain and vanished behind it, leaving the galaxy to wonder why. At first, the younger species thought the humans had destroyed themselves. Civilizations rise and fall, and humanity had risen higher than most. They had expanded swiftly, spreading across 1,000 systems, mastering energy and space in ways others only dreamed of. Then, without warning, they stopped. Every human world went silent at once. Outposts darkened. Fleets withdrew behind invisible walls. And then the seal centuries passed. Millennia followed. Empires rose and faded, but the silence of human territory never changed. Still, the whispers endured. In the halls of the Calathon Senate, in the war councils of the Dravic clans, in the star temples of the Athari, stories persisted, stories that the humans had not died at all. Some said they had turned inward, transcending matter itself. Others said they had found a truth too terrible to share. A few whispered that they were waiting for something or someone before returning. But no one had proof. Then came the day the whispers grew louder. It began with an explorer, a modest vessel crewed by 4 alien scholars who drifted too close to the sealed border. They had no weapons, only scanners and curiosity. For generations, the border had been a dead zone, harmless but impenetrable. Yet when their ship neared it, instruments flared with readings unseen in 1,000 years. Energy patterns pulsed like a heartbeat. Space itself shimmered, distorting the starlight. And then, a sound. A low hum rolled through the void. Not random noise, not interference. It was structured, rhythmic, almost musical. The crew panicked. They tried to turn back, but the ship would not respond. Their communication logs recorded one final message before they vanished. It said, "They are not gone." When fragments of their vessel were later found drifting just outside the sealed zone, the words were burned into the ship's hull, etched in human script. The galaxy trembled. Rumors multiplied faster than light. Governments dispatched fleets to observe the border. Scientists debated ancient records, and priests declared omens in every language known. But the seals held. The border shimmered softly, mocking them all. On the 5th year after the incident, a council was convened. The oldest and wisest races gathered on the neutral world of Tiran, their greatest thinkers filling an endless hall of glass and light. There were no humans among them, of course, only empty seats where their ambassadors once sat long ago. "The border is changing," said one of the Athari, its crystal form glowing faintly. "Its energy signature fluctuates. The humans may be attempting to return." "No," growled a Dravic warlord, his scales dark with unease. "They are preparing for something. The humans never did anything without purpose, where, and if they are?" asked the Calathon delegate. "What do we do if they return?" Silence filled the chamber. Everyone knew the stories. How humanity had once fought the grand armada of 10 empires and won. How they had shattered fleets that spanned systems. How they had turned barren moons into living worlds with machines that sang. Humanity's power had always been matched only by its unpredictability, but none of them truly understood humans. They never had. 1,000 years of silence had not erased the memory of their defiance. In a darkened observatory on Tyran's outer rim, a young archivist named Aelin worked tirelessly, studying the faint data from the border. He had never seen a human, but he had read their words. Fragments of digital archives, forgotten poetry, scattered transmissions that spoke of hope, loss, and unyielding will. What he found both fascinated and frightened him. There was a pattern in the hum that had rippled from the sealed region. It wasn't random, it was language. Slow, deliberate, ancient human speech, encoded in vibration and frequency. After months of translation, Aelin deciphered the message. It said, "Do not follow." Not yet. He shared his findings with the council. Panic spread. Some demanded immediate containment efforts. Others pleaded for diplomacy. But how could one negotiate with a silence that spanned millennia? And then the stars themselves began to change. From the border of human territory came light. Faint at first, small pulsing flares that rippled outward like ripples in a pond. Entire constellations began to realign, stars shifting in subtle patterns, bending under an unseen influence. Observers across the galaxy reported distortions in space-time, signals from deep within the sealed region echoing across the void. It was as if something vast was awakening. The Calathans deployed their greatest vessel, the Horizon Crown, to the edge of the human border. Its captain, a calm and steady figure named Dalen, watched as the luminous curtain before him shimmered like liquid glass. No weapon could harm it, no scan could pierce it. But as he gazed into the shifting wall, he thought he saw shadows moving, enormous silhouettes gliding silently behind the veil. One of his officers whispered, "Are those ships?" He didn't answer. He wasn't sure. Then the hum returned, louder, deeper. The stars near the border dimmed as energy flooded the void. The crew braced for impact, but none came. Instead, a beam of light reached out from the barrier, touching the Horizon Crown. Every system aboard the vessel shut down instantly. The crew froze as a human voice filled the air, not transmitted through speakers but resonating directly in their minds. "You were warned," the voice said calmly. "The seal protects you. Leave this place." And just as suddenly the ship was thrown back, light years and seconds until it drifted on the edge of known space once again. Not a single system damaged, not a single crew member harmed. But on the hull of the ship, glowing faintly in pale blue light, were words burned into the metal. "We are still here." After that day, no one dared approach again. For generations, the sealed region remained untouched. Trade routes curved around it. Maps marked it as forbidden. Children whispered tales of the humans, those who built gods out of machines, who spoke to stars, who vanished before anyone could understand them. But deep inside the sealed territory, beyond the veil, humanity endured. Cities of light floated among the nebulae, powered by reactors that drew energy directly from the fabric of space. Great fleets rested in silence, preserved but ready, orbiting ancient worlds that gleamed with metallic continents. Humanity had not vanished, they had withdrawn. Long ago they had faced something the rest of the galaxy could not imagine. A presence older than time, a darkness that devoured civilizations before memory began. When the first tremors of that ancient force stirred again, humanity had sealed their borders, not out of pride, but out of protection. They had built a fortress around their worlds to prepare, to evolve, to create the weapons and wisdom needed to face what was coming. Inside their sealed domain, they had remade themselves. Minds merged with machines, bodies forged to endure the collapse of stars, consciousness extended into quantum webs that spanned galaxies. But even as they ascended, they remembered their origin. They remembered Earth, the cradle now hidden among the stars, and they remembered the others outside the seal. The whispers the galaxy heard were no accident. They were warnings, hints meant to guide those who still listened. The humans were not silent. They were speaking carefully, shaping the course of history from behind the veil. 1,000 years after the first sealing, the hum changed once more. Not a warning this time, but a call. Across the galaxy, dormant beacons of human origin flickered to life. Old relics buried on forgotten worlds began transmitting. The message was the same everywhere. It begins again. In the great archives of Tiren, now ruled by descendants of those who once feared humanity, Aelin's recordings were rediscovered. The message he once translated, "Do not follow," was joined by new words, clearer, stronger. "Stand ready." The galaxy trembled once more. Fleets gathered, empires mobilized, but no one truly understood what was coming. All they knew was that the stars themselves seemed to lean toward human territory, as if drawn by gravity or destiny. And then, on a quiet night in the Tiren Observatory, the sealed border shimmered one last time. The veil that had stood for 1,000 years dissolved into cascading light. Every telescope, every sensor, every eye turned toward it. Beyond the fading curtain, an impossible sight emerged, countless vessels, each larger than a moon, each radiating energy that warped the void. Human warships, ancient and renewed, forming ranks across the edge of the galaxy. At their center hung a colossal construct, the heart of Terra, the legendary fortress said to contain the will of all humanity. The hum that filled the stars became a voice once more. Calm, vast, unshakable, we held the darkness at bay. Now it stirs again. You are not ready, but you will be. The seal is lifted, and then, as the voice faded, Every star within sight flared bright. The humans had returned, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The galaxy would never be the same, and though the seals were gone, the whispers would never cease. For every world that looked upon the shining fleets of humanity would remember what the stars had long whispered in awe and fear. Human territory is sealed no longer. And the stars still remember what happened there.